So today we're going to be talking about the power of neighborhood associations. And I know today you've heard about a lot of different organizations that exist in the community that service the community in different ways. Today we're talking about specifically neighborhood associations that are created to service a specific area, the residents, the businesses, and everything that has to do with that community. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I am the executive director and president at the Rosemoor Community Association. And I have been president since January 2024. So we've done a lot of changes at the Rosemoor Community Association. The association has been incorporated since 1941. So we have been an organization since then. We've had a constant board. Yep.
What's your name?
Oh, LoLita Canady is my name. I'm sorry. Let me make sure I'm getting through these slides as well. I'm pacing myself. Like I was telling everyone before, when it comes to community, I can get wordy and start talking. So I'm pacing myself, and we're going to go through these slides just to give us a little bit of structure about what we're talking about today. So today we will be discussing a few things. One is exploring how neighborhood associations strengthen communities. Also strategies for effectively organizing your association. I'll show some models and some examples of what things that we're doing in the community and how we're formed as an association. And then I'll also give some steps as to how you can start forming an association, whether formal or informal. So a little bit about me. I started into community work. Well, number one, I lived in Roseland community all my life, and then bought a home in the Rosemoor community, which is a smaller sub-community within Roseland. So once I purchased a home in 2021, I wanted to get more involved with my family. First and foremost, above everything else, I'm an artist. And so and my husband is an audio engineer, videography and photography. So we wanted to bring creativity to the community. And we were trying to figure out ways to do that. So everyone kept saying, hey, reach out to the Rosemoor Community Association. And at the time, even though I was familiar with the community all my life, grew up in the neighborhood, I didn't really know anything about the association. So I started getting more involved. The president at the time was, without me knowing, was thinking about kind of transitioning out of that space and finding a replacement. And so I happened to fit that spot because once I started realizing what the community association was doing and what they were there for, I started volunteering my time more, helping the association with a lot of things as far as like modernizing their systems and things like that. And so this opportunity kind of fell in my lap, and I've embraced it. And so what we've been doing in the past year is restructuring and reimagining what we're doing as an association and how we're affecting the community. And so that is just one of the reasons. Oh, go ahead. Hi.
Yeah. You get your phone number or email. Then you put that up in the
Oh, yes. I will give you all that information. And I do have cards up here and a few other things that we're going to go through, and I'll show you some examples of some things. Yes, ma'am. Yes. So as we go through, I'll give you some of the handouts. Some of them, it's under 20 people. So I do have a community mapping worksheet that we'll go through, and I'll explain about what those things are. And also just, I have some flyers and stuff here just from Rosemoor to just give you some examples of how we communicate with the community. But I'll get you all through that. Yes.
You started off by saying you're an artist.
Yes.
What kind of art?
So I pretty much touch everything. But what I love to do the most is I do henna. So I'm a henna artist. I also play with, I'm also a rug artist. So I tuft rugs. I do reupholstering, refurbishing furniture. I like to play with woods, resins, inks, pretty much all different types of mediums on all different types of substrates. And I like to mix them up. So I kind of touch a little bit of everything when it comes to art. Say again.
Yes. So basically, arts and crafts.
Yes, I consider myself like a creative, just overall, just a creative, you know. If it's something that looks interesting to me, I will go down a rabbit hole and figure out how to get the materials, how to figure out how to start doing it. And so it's just led me to be able to kind of touch all different types of creative projects. And that's one of the things that I wanted to bring to the community. As we'll go, you'll see the things that a community association does, and how art and beautification can be a part of that. So, yes. So I'd like to learn a little bit more about who's in the room today. So we're going to do a little poll. Is there anyone who currently lives in the neighborhood with an active community or neighborhood association?
Organization would be the same.
Or yes, or organization. Outside of a block club, not a block club, but a neighborhood association. Yes. Your crew. Now, is it specifically for a specific neighborhood for the residents of the neighborhood? Yes, Roseland. Okay. Okay, and your mission is to serve the Roseland community.
Yes, that's part of it.
That's part of it. Okay. Sole purpose.
That's sole purpose.
Sole purpose is what I'm looking for. Do you have a community association that you are a part of or know of that sole purpose is
To serve poor men and Roseland.
Yes. Do you know the name of that association?
Historic Women Empowerment Organization.
They got a couple more too, right?
I'm a resident.
Oh, okay. Yes, you are a resident improvement.
We serve all the needs. That's why we call Brothers in Christ global, because we constantly move all over the city.
Mm-hmm.
And our commitment is to neighborhoods, for their safety,
Yes.
as well as for their spiritual life.
Yes. And one of the things that I did want to differentiate, so with the neighborhood, specifically neighborhood associations, they are there to cover a specific area, a specific neighborhood. Well, in Chicago, we're broken up into 77 neighborhoods. A lot of other cities are not like how we are, so we're very unique in that sense, right? So we have borders. We know what the borders are. But another unique thing is that in those 77 communities, there are sub-communities that have been established and have borders. One of the reasons is a lot because of redlining, a lot of the historical things that happen in Chicago with land. There are just borders. Those invisible borders that our parents and grandparents knew about, they still exist and almost in some of the associations, which we're not going to get into too much about, but some associations in the past were to keep certain people out of their communities, and they formed these neighborhood associations to do just that. We're very inclusive. This is totally different than that, and a lot of the organizations that started in that way, a lot of them have changed bylaws and changed the way they think and about who is involved in the community, and including everyone. So, and another question, is there anyone that's interested in starting or revitalizing an association in your community? Yes. Can you tell me some neighborhoods? You said Pullman.
No,
I mean Roseland. You know,
I live in Avondale, so by Logan Square.
by Logan
I
Square.
had a group called the West Logan Square Block Club, but it encompassed a whole. It wasn't really a block club. It was
An area.
an association for a larger
Mm-hmm.
area. And it died off with COVID, and I work in 16, where you don't really have really many block clubs. It's more neighborhood associations.
Okay, that makes sense. Yes, that's.
So the organization that I'm a board of is Historic Women Empowerment Organization. So we're kind of new. So this will apply to that, but also I'm to find out if there used to be a Roseland Community Association.
Yep. That's what I was just telling her about.
Good.
Yep.
So we're gonna need to
I
do
did-
that.
I
I
did
was
the
just in a
research.
meeting yesterday, and I know some of the founders. Actually, my grandfather, which was distant of me, was the founder of that. But I really need to get that back going. I work for the Alderman office as well, so I need to. So yeah, should I trade seats with you? So we need to- you know, we
Okay, that's good.
And There's a lot of things that go on,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to connect for the Roseland community,
Yes.
we don't have that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like you, I'm being real quick. You're
Yeah,
talking about
no.
that segregating stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to sharing information, we get Roseland, they don't want to go to Pullman stuff, and Pullman don't want to go to Roseland. So it's crazy.
Mm.
One day it'll break down, but yes, I would like to help
Yes.
establish
The Roseland. Okay, that's good. I'm glad you two in the room together.
We're not welcome.
Pullman? Okay, and you want to revitalize one of the associations? You're in Pullman too?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, okay. Yes, I know it because we're all connected. We're all a connected community, and I've heard many people, community leaders, speaking about that disconnect between the communities that are connected, and we're working on that. So we're all going to work on that. Okay. It is that too, especially.
What I was trying to say, is like, what used to be Peel Hill,
Mm-hmm.
and now they changed to Chicago Heights. And I thought Chicago Heights was way
Mm.
out. So it just really messed us up, for us to live in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And really, we do need some group participation, because we got a lot of problems. So one side of Stony Island is definitely out there.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into exactly how we can do that, how you can revitalize or establish something in your area, specific area. And an association doesn't have to be a complete neighborhood. It can be a section of a neighborhood where you have a united group of people who want to do something in that space. One more question. What is one thing you love about your neighborhood? I know everyone in here lives in a neighborhood. Is there one thing that you can shout out real quick that you love about your neighborhood?
I love the history of my neighborhood.
Anyone else?
I like the fact that we are really trying to establish that neighborly connection that we once was real strong in Chicago.
Yeah, neighborhood connection. Yes, that's good.
Our Alderman is very engaged in our community.
Oh, that's good. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Our school, because she's really engaged in the children of our neighborhood and surrounding.
Okay. Those are really good points, and I'm glad we had a little bit of just knowledge of where you guys are, what communities you're in. So we're going to go into exactly what are neighborhood associations. And I'm also going to try to make sure you guys can keep me on track. But neighborhood associations, by definition, are pretty much voluntary organizations that are formed by residents to address common interests and concerns. And some of you may be familiar with HOAs, homeowners associations, which are different because they're more about keeping, rules and enforcement for things in the community. Usually like subdivisions and smaller sections of blocks will have a HOA. But the purpose of the community association or neighborhood associations is to improve the quality of life in that community, build the community, advocate for the neighborhood, and a sense of gathering for the community. The benefits of having a community, which a lot of you know if you've ever been associated with any kind of group within your community, is that it fosters relationships, creates relationships between neighbors in a sense of community. You have something to be a part of that you're connected to, that where you live every day, which is the most important part of our lives, is where we live and how we move about. And creating those relationships can happen within these associations. Also, it helps to amplify voices of the residents and community. So one thing I'll be saying constantly, there are power in numbers. So when you gather and you have an association and you can access the community, putting voices together to collectively solve problems and address specific issues, those are things you can come to the alderman's office and say, hey, we have our community. This is what we think, these are the issues that we're having, instead of people individually going different times, and Tracy can speak to this because she works in the alderman's office as chief of staff for the 9th Ward. And so you understand how, if there's someone that's collectively gathering information and can come to a source with data and information, it's more powerful. And that's what creating an association will help do, as well as attract resources and support from partnerships with people to be able to get access to things in your community, but also the likelihood of being able to receive funding. When you are a formed association, especially if you're a formal association as a nonprofit, the funding available to you is exponentially more than if it is informal. Because there is some ownership there, there's some sort of accountability when you have an association formed, and all these different entities that give the grant funding are looking for something that's established, that has some credibility, and something backing it, which is the community and the residents. And so those are some of the benefits. And also, as far as types, so I was talking about formal associations, which are nonprofit associations. These associations pretty much are registered as nonprofits. They have established bylaws, elected leadership. For example, Rosemoor Community Association has been an established association since 1941. So since then, we've had bylaws. They've been revised over the years. We've had elected leadership, a board that has been consistent over the years. And those things kind of help govern what happens amongst your community. Also, for an association, it can vary, like we were talking about earlier. It was easy for Rosemoor to be established because it was already established when a long time ago. So we are able to operate in those borders. But if you're starting an association, maybe you're part of one of the 77 communities, and within that community there is no association. That's where you're at. And so it would cover the borders of whatever that for that neighborhood, right? But then let's say you have an 8-block radius of really connected neighbors that have a lot of commerce or commercial district within their area, or a lot of issues that need to be tackled within a small area. You can form an association to be able to tackle those issues and gather the residents. But you just also want to be aware of what's in your community as well. Is there already an established association? Because you don't want to butt heads. You want to make sure that everybody's kind of on the same page in that community, So you have to do your research. The Rosemoor Community Association has been in the community since 1941, and there are people my age, and I'm in my 40s, who never knew that place existed and lived in the neighborhood just like me. So you have to do the research. You have to be intentional, talking to neighbors and community, saying, okay, hey, talking to the elders, did someone have an association before? Who were the people? Connecting the neighbors to find that information, because you don't really want that overlapping, because then it's kind of a conflict of interest. And then for the formal associations, you do want to have structured meetings, defined roles for those that are volunteering and participating, so that everyone knows their space and how they're going to contribute to the association. Now, for informal association, these are more grassroots organizations, and it's usually amongst a group of residents who are really concerned or have the time and energy to volunteer and give a lot of energy into the community. And sometimes that doesn't call for a formal structure. If they're, it also, when dealing with community, we all have our own lives as well. And so sometimes you may not have the capacity to be able to establish bylaws and elect leadership and have this big process of having a nonprofit, because it is a responsibility. But you can still have an informal association that does the same things, which is focusing on building the community, but it's without those regulations for being a nonprofit. And then informal associations usually turn into formal associations if you get a lot of interest and it starts to grow organically. It turns into that, because the more people that you have involved, the more you want to have some structure and delegate, how we're affecting the community and where everyone's place is. So there are plenty of examples of organizations that have started small. I think we're in a space with Crew, who started in the same way. Brothers in Christ. I'm sure it started with a few people who were just like, hey, we need to do this. And then it just turned into something bigger.
Brothers in Christ has been in existence for almost 20 years, but it's been a non-for-profit for 3.
For 3?
Yes.
And see, And that's with all that time that they've invested into this. Now they can turn it into a nonprofit because you have people behind you, volunteers, and you can make more of an impact as a nonprofit. Okay. Let me get through this for you. So why does the community associations matter? They create relationships. We talked about this, fostering that sense of belonging to a community, but also with community building. Usually when we're in a situation like me, when I was a teenager, I would look at my community and say, hey, what is this? Why is this lot empty? Why does this look like this? But there was no one that I knew that I can say, hey, let me give my $20 from my allowance to this organization that is directly impacting the community. So having an association allows you to do this community building and having a place to invest in within your own spaces. That was one of the reasons why I started getting more involved, because I owned a home now. I had my first kids, which were twins, and now I'm like, okay, I got 8-year-olds. How are they going to be invested into the community? I have a daughter with special needs, so I have a daughter in a wheelchair, and I look at my sidewalks, I look at these things. Yeah. And if you're not active in your community and speaking and talking about, hey, this is what we need, no one knows. Or they know and don't care if you don't. And so getting involved, having a say, and being a part of association allows you to come in and say, hey, these are the things that we want to do. And it doesn't always have to be bad. It's just maybe just be improvements. It's not always about complaining. It's literally about improving your community and making it what you want it to be.
Mm-hmm. I understand that there's a lot of neighborhoods with beautiful landscaping, but the streets are torn up. Mm-hmm. And it's like, even if there was an association, people have to speak on repairing those particular blocks and streets. Mm-hmm. But the area in general is beautiful. Mm-hmm.
And that's why there are levels to your community engagement. At the level, right, where we're at with community associations, that's like the level above the block club, right? Because the block club is how we want them to connect with the association, because that's how the block clubs are linked into these individual homes. The association is linked into the block clubs, and then places like the alderman's office is linked in with the associations to know what's needed.
And so that, like with the alderman office, Rosemoor is very strong. Mm-hmm. So the menu money is not enough money to fix none of our ward. Maybe on the north side, because they were so small. But when Rosemoor, an organization like Rosemoor say we need this, and that fixed, it is better in numbers, and that is taken into consideration to be able to come onto the next menu list. Now they have to do something in the entire ward, but they definitely will. If not this year, they're going to make sure they get to their request. A strong community organization like that.
I understand.
Yeah, because they're speaking for all of their blocks. Mm-hmm.
And when you organize and you have your boundaries and your borders, the alderman knows exactly the area that is affected. Oh yeah, that too. And that's another thing that is a benefit, which I didn't have on here, but being able to advocate for, and we as an organization, we don't do the religion or the politics in our bylaws, but we do encourage you being involved in whoever you're voting for. You need to do it, and this, or even explaining when you'd vote. These are the things that happen within our community. This is how the changes happen. Also, advocacy, same thing, amplifying voices that are already there as a group, power in numbers. It's solving together, collective solving as well. I always say that everyone is an expert in something. There is something that you know well enough to teach, right? And if you can bring those resources to your community association, that's just another thing that's power in numbers, collectively activating our spaces and thinking about solutions, not just giving problems or complaining, but actually coming up and problem solving together. It makes it a little bit easier when you do that. And then attracting the resources, like we said, as far as grant funding. As with Rosemoor Community Association, we are a longstanding organization, but we had to do some restructuring because the participation was waning from a lot of the community, especially when you're doing every day, going back and forth to work, to having kids, going back and forth to school. You get kind of lost in that routine, and sometimes it's hard to grab that, to grab the attention of the community. And then a lot of the seniors in our community, they're retired, they have a lot of time, but they don't have the same capacity to help. And so what we found was that our community was very strong with our seniors, our seasoned group, and they were kind of holding the organization afloat. And so when I started, the goal was to try to garner more participation, bringing on new ideas, kind of turning around and, like I said, reimagining what it is we're here to do and how we're going to service the community and all of the community, with rebranding and things like that. So some of the things that lead to a successful organization is having a diverse representation with your group. So we are not about being, we are about not about being inclusive. We want to make sure that everyone is involved. So if we want to have as intergenerational communication with each other and participation, not just age, but as far as our races and a lot of our communities, because like we said, they are segregated just automatically. But I see a lot of that changing as well. Even in our community at Rosemoor, the demographic is slowly changing. And when I visited other states and I go into communities, and you're like, oh, where's the black neighborhood? Or, oh, where's that? And I'm like, what? What do you mean? And I'm like, oh, that's unique to Chicago. Okay. And so we have to kind of unthink that as a community, right? We already know, oh, when you say, I'm buying a house, and you say, oh, what neighborhood are you buying a house in? You already know who lives in that neighborhood for the majority, right? And that's not because we're conditioned as Chicagoans to know that, but other places it's not like that. So we have to be inclusive of everyone and make sure everyone's represented. That makes it successful. Also, clear communication. So one of the things that we changed was, well, one thing about Rosemoor is that they always had a good communication amongst the community and knew how to effectively reach the community in the ways that they liked to be contacted. So there was the mail, because we had a lot of seniors in our community, they like to be contacted via phone. They don't really like to fuss with the computer that much, and so they were effective in that. And one of the things that we changed was to add some more streams of communication. So we ramped up our Facebook page, our Instagram, the YouTube. We also did a mailing list, and we kind of fancied up our mailing list and use a program that helps us curate emails. We also kept the calling post. We just added more people on it. So instead of it just being specific people that wanted the call, we made sure everybody was on that call list. So you get a phone call. But you have to reach out and communicate so that the community knows that you are there. And once they know that you are there and that you are a resource, then that's how you start.
Do your community have a newsletter?
So we had a newsletter. So we're working on revamping everything as well. So over this past year, we've kind of been formulating how that happens. We've always had a newsletter for the most part. Here and there, they didn't have it, but for the most part, we've had a newsletter. We're going to start that back up again. Because, like I said, some people like to get a physical piece of paper that says this is what's happening. And also, that's how the community knows that you're there. Even if, when I was younger, right on the other side was Roseland Heights, and the newsletter would come in the mail at my parents' house, and I would see it. I wasn't involved with it, but we saw it in the month. And so I knew that there was a community association in Roseland Heights, even though I had friends in Rosemoor. That's where we did shopping, ride our bikes, all of that. But on the other side of the bridge, I knew that there was an association there. Even though I lived never knew that they had an association. But then again, I wasn't in that specific community to get that newsletter. But the fact that we did, it is bringing awareness that there is someone there that is there to advocate for you in your community.
So you mentioned something about a phone system or email system?
Yes, so it's called a calling post. Nowadays, you can do them through the internet. So what happens is it's a program that allows you to put in phone numbers.
How do you find it?
I can give you some information, and I can also send everyone some emails with some links and stuff like that. But it's a couple of different ones. But one is called the Calling Post, where you go put in phone numbers. It's called callmultiplier.com. I'm sorry, that's the one we use. And you put a list of phone numbers in there, and you can create a message. You can either record it and upload it, or the system will call your phone You do the message on your phone. Once you're done, it's saved in the system. Then you can schedule out that call to have the message for whatever it is. It could be inviting to an event. It could be signing up for membership or saying something that happened in the community. Callmultiplier.com. And so it just allows you to be able to access by phone. And if you don't pick up, it leaves a voicemail with that message. It also, the one that we're using called Multiplier, allows you to do a poll. So you can say, hey, we want to know if, you're going to be at the meeting next Saturday. Press 1 if you're going to be at the meeting. And it allows us to record and see everyone that answers the call. If they press 1 or 2 or 3, it's telling you the information that you need to know. And so it's just another way of gathering information, connecting with the community. But as an association, that is the main thing that you want to do, because you can't exist independently. You are there to service the residents, businesses, churches, organizations that are within your borders. So you have to make sure that you're communicating clearly. Also, making sure that you're part of meaningful projects within the community. Having things that reflect what the people want in your neighborhood. If you have, one of the problems that we had were empty lots. What do we do to try to fix this problem? Do we attract business owners or or people that can purchase land to be able to revitalize your neighborhood? Do we, want to do more beautification? That's one of the things that Rosemoor is focusing on right now, is bringing some life to the community, finding ways that we can beautify the neighborhood. And so these are impactful projects that will, number one, get the attention of your community members, but also fosters a sense of pride in your community. And depending on how big or small you are, you focus on the task, focus on projects based on that. So not overdoing it. And we'll talk about that a little bit too. But another thing that makes you successful is celebrating. Celebrating, recognizing successes within your community, the good and positive things amongst your community, your good assets, not always focusing on the bad stuff, coming together to have community bonds. So when you have fellowship, you learn something about the other person. You're connecting a face to your community. I tell people all the time with the young ones, say something, speak to the elders so they can see your face. So when they see you walking down the street, they're not scared of you. And because they don't know who you are, what you're doing, because of how you got the hoodie on. We know all of them wear hoodies and got them on, the ski mask. I can't stand them, but everybody behind the ski mask, it's not bad. That's just their thing, right? Yeah. And so, but if the boy across the street waves to Miss So-and-so across the street, hey, Miss So-and-so, how you doing? Do you need some help? Whatever. You need your garbage put out, whatever it is. Then now she knows when she sees you walking down the street, she's not in her head like, okay, who is that? Let me be cautious, because she knows you, because you talk to her, right? And then having spaces where you can engage with each other, it allows knowledge to flow. Because I always believe that the young ones, when you sit down with a senior, they had a whole life the same age that you are. And every time I talk to someone, I'll be surprised at like how many cycles they've been through in their lives and the many different things that they've done that you would never even connect them with. And so having those intergenerational conversations and engagement is good for a community. It bonds the community. It makes us appreciate each other.
There's grants for intergenerational conversations.
And this is the person you want to talk to about that kind of stuff too, because it does, it is very important. And it's been, I don't have the statistics, but I know there are statistics that show how bonding with each other intergenerationally is sharing wealth amongst each other. Not just for the young ones, but the seniors learn a lot too from the youth, and keeps. I always say, like right now, I'm in stage of little kids. I got 8-year-olds. And my nieces and nephews are small. I'm not really around teenagers. And I'm like, feel disconnected from them sometimes, just because I don't really know what they're doing, what they're listening to, what they, And so being a part of a community association, I get to do that. When I have my interns, I get to talk to them. And, I see those type of things. So these are the things that lead to a successful association.
Did you say grants for this?
Yeah, there was one that we had received. It's from Prince Charitable.
Prince?
Prince Charitable. So just Google that, and then intergenerational grants. Come out once a year.
PRINCE.
Grant.
PR,
Oh,
and it's-
Prince.
Yeah, and then we end up doing an intergenerational, like you said. So we made everybody, when they enter the room, whoever you came, we could sit with. So we make sure that we were valid at table
It's
one.
yes.
And the seniors, the young people was helping them with their phone, and the senior was telling them stories.
Mm-hmm.
So it really worked out.
And it's always so fun, you know, when you see everybody, it's always smiles on faces, and, you know, people like, oh, yeah, did you know so-and-so used to tap dance or used to ballet or used to whatever, dance for the sailors? And you're like, wait a minute, what? Like, you know, even when I talk to my grandmother, some of the stories I hear, I'm like, you never told, I never knew about that. And it was like, oh, yeah, that was about 60 years ago.
Right.
But, you know, those stories we need to hear.
Yeah.
You know, because if we don't hear them, they don't get passed on. We don't have appreciation for those type of things. And having it in the community association is kind of can be a catalyst for having those all those things happen. I did want to mention, as far as we were talking about programs like having celebrations and events and things like that. Just wanted to give you some examples of some things that the Rosemoor Community Association does throughout the year. So we do a garden walk. We have gardeners that they actually tend to some gardens along 100th Street or within our borders, and they've been doing that for a while now. And we have a garden walk that highlights the gardens, but also gives some information about the community. We have a trolley that rides community members around, and one of our residents gives a history on the community, but it gives a place to gather. We have music and vending, and so that's one of our community events where you can gather and have fellowship. And we do fundraising and different initiatives within the community to beautify and things like that. So those are just some ideas. But as far as getting started, so if you have an idea that there are some people in your community that are like-minded, that want to make an impact within the community, gather those people. You want to and if it's about revitalizing your community association, you know, get those that are interested together, and then you got to lay the groundwork for what the community association is going to be standing for. What is it? Who is it advocating for? And putting those pieces together. So you definitely want to start with a list. Get some names. If you are a person that knows a lot of neighbors, go out, walk door to door, talk to people, say, hey, we were trying to form this, and see what interest you get. You're going to do a lot of walking before you get a lot of people interested, because it is work. And I'm not even going to lie, you know, especially when you first starting out. It is hard. You think that it would be easy to knock on somebody who's paying a mortgage every month to say, hey, we doing something to change what it's harder than you think. And even at the time that I started, if it had been probably 3 or 4 years earlier, I wouldn't have had the space or time or the energy to do it because of what I was going through in my own life, right? So it's just about going out and finding the people who are in the right space to be able to help and get this started. So it's not easy.
About a year ago, maybe longer, we all was here for crew for a trauma meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And we also had another class that we did that was based on Together Chicago Forum in the Block Club. I went to my neighbor across the street, an older woman who was a church lady, and I asked her about participating in the Block Club, maybe even signing a petition. She denied me. And the area I live in, the thing about association, what I did not understand that you educated me on, is I work maintenance in a luxury high-rise downtown.
Okay.
The building that I work in has an association, Park Shore Association. They're ran by a management company.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought associations were all just confined to high-rise buildings, not necessarily neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm. No, there are. So I have some examples too. So Gold Coast, they have an association. It's mostly high-rises and businesses, but they have an association. There's a few associations in the downtown area, and then some are buildings. I think Lake Park. Don't they have an association in that building?
Yeah.
So like I said before about the size, it is about your boundaries. What are your boundaries, and who are you servicing? And yeah. So the second thing would be hold a gathering. So all the people that you talk to, even people who say, maybe not, get a meeting at a general place in the community and talk about it. discuss what are the issues, what are the interests, and keep meeting notes. Your first meeting, write down all the notes, list of your discussed topics, because even if you're not going to be a formal association, you have to keep a track of what you're doing. Another reason why associations are important is because when we have an association, we can gather data. And when you gather data, that's how you can make an impact in your community, because you can use that data and you can leverage that data amongst your officials in your community, the grantors, because they want to ask, they want people to be able to manage data, get data, show proof of whatever it is you're implementing within the community is effective and working, and you have to have a central place to do that. So an association is one. So make sure you hold an initial gathering to talk about what you want to do. Also,
Add something to that.
oh sure.
When we have people that are wanting to do some of these things, you're going to have the naysayers.
Mm-hmm.
Don't listen to the naysayers. I was married to one. We were working. We're working on this. It's a volunteer group, and I was in charge of collecting volunteer information and
Mm-hmm.
where we had different trainings and stuff like that. I'm like, start collecting this information from the ground, at the ground level.
Yep.
Because at some point you're going to need to, as
Proof.
you're saying, show where you've been, what you've done. You're going to want to reach out for grants. You're going to want this information.
Yep.
Oh, well, nobody's going to want to supply that information, or it's not secure, blah, 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 blah. It's like, you got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere.
So you just got to shut the naysayers off.
Yes, that is good.
If you're wanting to start an association, the first thing you need to do is go to the Illinois page and say, list or give me a list of all the associations in the state of Illinois.
Oh,
So
wow.
you can even narrow it down to the Chicago area.
That's
Where do you
good.
get it from? You just, you Google it, or you can just say, give me the list of all registered
Right.
associations
Registered.
within whatever.
Right,
area
that's
you're
within
in.
informal. Mm-hmm.
It should be registered, because there are associations that are not registered.
Uh-huh.
And you want to do it right by getting registered with the state of Illinois. I just wanted to throw that in.
Oh, you want to give them your background just a little bit so they can know just
No.
that you. Oh, well, I call her the money lady, because she knows all of the state stuff and finance stuff, so she knows that. The third thing you want to do is you want to map your community. You have to know what you have in your community, right? And there are several ways of mapping your community, whether it's the resources that are there, the physical spaces that you have in your community, the assets that you have amongst the residents, what they have, the talents they have, the skills they have. Those are assets as well for a community. And then having a clear picture of that, that lets you assess what you need, what you have plenty of that you can maybe share, or this is how you do that. And so I do have a handout here. You guys can pass this around. This is just a sample asset mapping worksheet. And there are so many different ones that you can find online. Just Google it and you'll find one. You can create one on your own because everyone's neighborhood is very unique. So this worksheet, can I just have one of those before you do? This worksheet pretty much breaks it down to where are the assets? And when it says here, where do you go to school? Because we know we live in Chicago and some of our communities are not in the best spaces. So that means we go outside of our community for grocery stores. We go outside of our community to recreate. We go outside our community for other things. But in this worksheet where it says, where do you go to school? The question should be, where are the schools in your community? Where do you shop? Where do you work? Where do you eat? Where do you buy groceries? Where do you worship in the community, right? And then also these other spaces, where do you get involved? Where do you socialize? Where do you go for arts and recreation? These should all be specific to your community. You can list them, put the addresses of them, and also you can grade them. Are they an asset? Are they not an asset? And this is where you can start. And when you start on this worksheet, then you can build from that as an association. So that's just that. And then also you want to research your resources. There are plenty of resources within the community. The city services, you have your alderman's office, your state representative, your senator, Yes, and the police department, your local district, police district. And when it comes down to getting information on how to be successful as an association, CPD actually can be a very good contact because Fifth District has a community policing. Yeah, can you want to tell them a little bit about just a little bit about how they get connected with the community specifically?
So, and your committee.
In your committee.
We have our committee, we have our deck, chairmen and co-chairmen, where we go around, we have meetings. So you can come to the meetings and we tell you everything that's going on within the Fifth District community. So we also have our town's meeting with our alderman. So he also lets you know what's going on to keep you alert. So it's good to get involved with the deck community. I love her, when we go to her to visit her.
Oh, yeah.
Rosemoor, it's awesome. So you learn so much about how you can get involved in your community, what you can bring to your, if you are president of your block club, what to bring to your block club, what all you can offer the people on your block. It's a lot that it tells you. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So please use them as a resource. Mm-hmm.
Just to make sure that you attend your beat meetings.
Yes, the beat meetings. Yes, yes.
Say that to make sure you attend your beat meetings because that'll be the core. And then, like the young lady said, get involved with your local community policing offices. Both Shelley and I are both community organizers in different police districts. I work in the 2nd district, but I live in Roseland, and Shelley works.
I live in 14 and work in 16, so out by O'Hare.
Oh,
And
okay.
if you're in our district, our community organizer is Danielle Richards.
Yes.
She's
amazing.
awesome.
She's awesome.
Yes.
She goes to all our meetings. So we have the faith-based, we have the seniors, all of them. So just go to your meeting.
Yes. So I skipped through a couple of slides because we were kind of talking about some of it as we were going, but building participation, like I talked about that before, is not going to be easy. I don't want to fake it like it is, right? So you have to make it easy for the community to get involved, right? Well, for me personally, if it's anything going on between 3 and 7 after the kids get off school, I'm pretty much tied up, right? Unless it's an emergency or something that I pre-plan and have a way to work around it. So you want to make it easy for your community to get involved and participate. So with Rosemoor, we have our community meetings every 3rd Tuesday at 6 p.m. Rosemoor our offices are right in the middle literally in the middle of our community, right? So everyone that lives there should be able to access it easily. Also, you want to show value with the community. You want to show them that how we can be relevant by being a resource, finding the resources, and gathering, getting people involved, dividing the work. That is so important because when you lead something like this, you can easily take ownership of it, and that was me. And it will become overwhelming. Yeah. Because you have all these ideas, you're trying to get them done, you're focused on it, and maybe at one point you had some people and then you turn around and really nobody's there. So you always want to make sure you divide the work, and then always coming together to celebrate. So we talked about knowing the officials. You need to understand how processes work in your community. That's a really big thing. So how does it work with the police department? How does it work through the alderman's office? How does it work with the city for any of your streetscape stuff or any kind of 311 services you need? You have to understand how those services work so that you can inform the community and that you can be effective when trying to make change in your community. Also, building relationships. The one thing I always want to say, relationships equals money, because the people that it matters. It does matter, right? That's ultimately the bottom line. When you build these relationships, and not building them when you need something, you build them and as time goes on. Yes, because you never know. Yes, you have to maintain those relationships, and that's how you can become successful. Also, you need to be solution oriented. Don't come always to complain. And if you do complain, I always say, if you got a complaint, please come with some type of solution. And even if you don't have the solution, give a suggestion or say, hey, I don't have any suggestion, but I'm willing to help whoever does. And that's what you need to do in order to be successful as an organization. Founder burnout is one thing. We talked about that. Mission drift. staying focused on what is the goals, missions, visions for your community, because if you can easily get all over the place when it comes down to it's so many different aspects to touch, but you have to stay focused on what the main issues are and stick with those. Making sure that you are diverse as a community, even if it's a all white community or all black community, we still need to be diverse in all areas with age, religion, everything. Everyone needs to be included when it comes down to community. And then over ambition. I've done this as well. You want to grab every project. You want to do everything. Even if it's big, you're like, okay, I know someone, this is perfect. Somebody else is going to help me with this, and then it doesn't happen. And then things don't get completed. So the more when you start with achievable projects, it allows you to complete things. And what I've learned is that people like to sit back and watch until something happens, until something's completed. And then they say, oh, they're serious. Okay, well, I'll get involved the next time so I don't miss out, because people, it's FOMO as well, fear of missing out. People don't want to miss out. So you have to grow that momentum. It does not happen overnight. And then... Oh, yes, please. Can everyone sign this as we go out? Because I can send you. Oh, you did? Okay, great. Because I can send an email of this for you, just as a guideline if you'd like. Funding, I always want to say funding, ways for funding, fundraising. Rosemoor Community Association does a fundraiser. Where is it? And we collect clothes from the community. Do I not have them? Oh, goodness. I'll send you guys an email with it. But our fund drive is we collect clothes, and everyone has clothes. Has clothes, just things that they don't want anymore, bedding, all that kind of stuff. And so we do this. This is now become an annual thing, and that we get funding based on the pounds. That's. Oh, yeah, it says it on there. So if you go to our website, rosemoorchicago.org, we have some information on there about that. But I'll also send you some things. But that's one way of raising money, finding some type of fundraiser. There's so many different ways to do it now. Sponsorships. Find out who are the businesses, who is benefiting from everyone in the community. The businesses that are bringing, getting money in, but don't live here and not putting money back into the community. Reach out to those businesses and say, hey, we're doing this or we're doing that. We need some funding for it. We need you to provide this. Find ways to do sponsorships and other donations. So I think my time is up, but I just wanted to give you guys just an example of some of the things we do at Rosemoor. So we do have a membership where the residents can sign up for membership. You get a membership card and a loyalty card. So when you show up at the meetings or our events, you get something stamped, and then we try to and then we try to we're going to be coming up with like RCA swag, so that encouraging members to get more involved. You can pass this around if you'd like, but this is just our membership packet that they get once you sign up for membership. It just welcome you to the association, and we usually have the name on there so that you can feel like you're a part of something, especially when it has something to do with your community, feeling pride, right? And then the businesses that sign up, they also get a packet, which is a letter of good standing, and then we do like a certificate for them that shows, thank you for being a member of the association, and then they get a loyalty card as well. And then we also have a membership form. So remember I said, so you can sign up for membership online, you can pay online, but some people like to physically write it. So we have a form as well for those who want to write it, send it back in, write a check, send it in. But you want to have different options for people to pay if you do have membership and want residents to sign up. Yes, and then we also create flyers about things that we have going on. So we have the gardeners, and we ask people to join the gardening team, and then we have something showing, join our association. What are the benefits of having an association? So these are the kind of things that people want. Oh, bike riding. So we're going to have our bike drive, our membership drive on June 21st, because we're trying to touch everyone in the community and let them know that we're here. The Ninth Ward is going to help us. The CPD is going to help us, and we're going to be out on bikes, beeping horns and stuff, letting people know, come outside and, say hi, hello neighbor, and get everyone involved. So those are just some examples. If you wanted to grab some of this stuff up here, you can. And then I do have a few. I don't know. I didn't know it was gonna be this many people, but I do have a few keychains. So as members of the community, we made some keychains. You know, you got to have your house keys, right? So remember what neighborhood you're in. But these are kind of things that kind of bring a sense of pride. Like I said, just having something that connects you to the community. So I'll leave these up here if anyone wants some to represent Rosemoor Community Association. And yes, we also do, we're doing a legacy brick project where community members can engrave bricks for anyone, family members, special occasions, just commemorating being in the community for however long. And so this has been an ongoing project, and we're kind of ramping it up right now and envisioning what this is going to look like. And so this is something that's kind of helps connect the community as well. And this is going to be a central place where you can sit and reflect and see those bricks, and just another way for us to all connect. So all of this stuff is sitting here. Just some examples of things that you can do to reach out to the community. When we changed our website, we just made these little postcards that say, our new website is live, scan it. We passed them out to anyone we saw. But there are ways to get everyone involved. So thank you all so much. Thank you.
What I'm happy for is that you have a community that's thriving already, and other communities can learn from what's going on there.
Yes, and that's what we want to do. Actually, Rosemoor wants to be the model. So what we're doing right now is just building a template, because we want to be able to pass this on to the other communities. Like, we're not the gatekeepers. We want to do it successfully, and once it's done successfully, to say, hey, next community over, this is how you do this. This is how you can implement these things. This is how you reach to the community and be more successful.